Last year in Lancashire, earthquakes of magnitudes up to 2.3 were triggered in Britain's first fracking tests. But according to the British Geological Survey, they shouldn't have caused any damage.
There are lots of faults around below us. They're everywhere. Very small faults, and probably some water got into one of the faults and was able to lubricate the two planes that meet in the fault so that the fault moved a little bit.
Size-wise, how would those earthquakes rank up with what you might expect in the UK anyway?
In a typical month, we might have, say, 10 earthquakes of about that size, purely natural, and larger ones as well.
Is there any chance that with fracking we'll get more significant quakes?
There are probably limits to the amount of energy these earthquakes can produce in the shale that's being fracked. In effect, you can't get a very large earthquake.
Struck Prague, Oklahoma in 2011 was the largest in state history.
Everything just started shaking, so it was really scary.
And though highly debated, many point to the energy industry as the culprit. That's because as oil and gas production has doubled over the past 5 years, the number of earthquakes rattling Oklahoma has surged. Until 2008, the state averaged 1 to 2 quakes magnitude 3 or greater per year. In 2015, it's averaged 2 per day. And scientists say it's not just here.
They increased throughout the central U.S. in about 2009, but primarily in just a few states and a few places within states like southern Colorado, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma.
The U.S. Geological Survey says most of it can be linked to oil and gas production, but not fracking itself, rather the disposal of wastewater.
In effect, you can't get a very large earthquake.
A powerful earthquake rattled central Oklahoma Saturday. The magnitude 5.6 quake centered near the city of Pawnee tied a state record and was felt in 7 states. It also renewed concerns about the disposal of wastewater from oil and gas production, which has been linked to the recent outbreak of quakes in Oklahoma. Here's Mireya Villarreal.
The facade came down off this old building here on 6th Street.
Bricks and debris from historical buildings in Pawnee, Oklahoma cover the sidewalks. This small city is the latest epicenter of concern over Oklahoma's oil and gas industry.
It was bad. The whole thing was just going like this. It was bad.
In 2015, Oklahoma averaged 2.5 earthquakes a day with a magnitude of 3.0 or higher. A total of 907 at that rating shook the state last year, compared to just 2 in 2008. Oklahoma Geological Survey experts have connected the increase in quakes to the disposal of wastewater from an oil and gas production process known as hydraulic fracturing or fracking.
In effect, you can't get a very large earthquake.
Saturday's quake prompted the state to initiate the fastest and largest shutdown of wastewater wells in state history. 37 are scheduled to be closed.
But on top of the risk of quakes, some people worry that chemicals added to the fracking water, or even methane itself, could leak into groundwater and affect drinking supplies.
The distance between where the fracking is going on and where the water is being taken out is so large, and the rock is so dense and impermeable, it would be really hard for the methane to get anywhere beyond a few meters.
Whoa, that kind of hurts my finger. Holy shit. Ow, ow, ow. Okay. You get the idea? Yeah. And I've been drinking this water for, 2 years now, and I always wondered why the faucet made these funny sounds when it runs. That's gas.
Whoa, Jesus Christ.
Hi, I'm Sarah McBride with Reuters, and with me today is my guest, Marvin Odom, President of Shell Oil Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us. And, how do you keep it isolated? Is the reason that you believe it's not dangerous that the actual fracturing happens so far below the water table?
Yeah, hydraulic fracturing tends to get the headline around this issue, if you will. I mean, that's everybody's concern, is that we're going to crack this rock and somehow fracture into the water table and then allow those two to communicate. That's physically impossible to do, actually.
water table goes down to, let's say, 1,000 feet plus or minus below the ground, sometimes deeper, sometimes shallower. As I said, these reservoirs we're drilling into are a mile or more deeper into the ground. So physically, you actually can't fracture over those sort of distances.
Just like that.
Distance between where the fracking is going on and where the water is being taken out is so large, and the rock is so dense and impermeable, it would be really hard for the methane to get anywhere beyond a few meters.
The Lipskys were advised to vent the gas constantly to keep it from accumulating under their property, as their neighboring gas well continues to frack.
It's 5,000 feet deep. We're pretty much standing right on top of it.
But now it seems that the authorities at all levels are so fired up on fracking's potential profits that households like Steve Lipsky's family are left to fight alone to get a healthy environment in their homes.
Is that we're going to crack this rock and somehow fracture into the water table and then allow those two to communicate. That's physically impossible to do, actually.
See it running down the water. And that's just not something you should see together. That makes me scared living out here in the country, because it's not like I've got a fire department that's right down the street from me. And if anything was to ever happen, my place would go up like a matchstick. So, and then I'm not so sure that the municipal water in this neighborhood is any better than my water, because their water's coming probably from the same place mine is.
The distance between where the fracking is going on and where the water is being taken out is so large, and the rock is so dense and impermeable, it would be really hard for the methane to get anywhere beyond a few meters.
Whoa! Holy unbelievable, a river on fire. Don't let it burn the boat.
Everybody's concern is that we're going to crack this rock and somehow fracture into the water table and then allow those two to communicate. That's physically impossible to do, actually.
Oh! Sometimes a picture says 1,000 words. Have a look at this. The Contamination River in southwest Queensland on fire. The fracking just a kilometre away, methane coming up, and now the river is alight. Unbelievable. The most incredible thing I've seen, a tragedy in the Murray-Darling Basin.